So again, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to Tea with Brittany Lee. I'm really excited about this series. It's been really close to my heart to do something like this at VRM for a while, and so it's very exciting that the clients are really loving the stuff that we're doing. I just want to take a minute and introduce our topic and our guest speaker this morning. Today we are going to be talking about 5 easy things you can do now to rank better, and that's to get your website to rank better. And I'm so excited about our special guest, Connie Hutchins. Connie and I have worked together since my very first day at VRM, and so Connie is my work BFF, and I am extremely excited to have her on today. She's super knowledgeable about all things SEO, so she's going to give us some tips and some tricks and some ways that we can make our websites rank better and do better overall. So just a couple of fun facts about Connie. She's originally from Utah, and if you were on Tea with Brittany Lee last month, then you actually know that Michael Hill, who is our VP of software development, is actually her brother. So that's a nice little interesting fact. We have some sibling love going on at VRM. And Connie actually, for fun, took up running a couple of years ago. I remember her talking about it when we would sit in the office together, and she would be like, "Oh, I just wish that I could run. I read these articles about these people that run, and like it just looks like so much fun." And so she decided, hey, why not? Like, I'm gonna join a running club. So she did, and she took up running, and she ran her first full half marathon the other day, which is, to me, that's amazing. Like, I just totally in awe of that. And she actually came in second for her age bracket, which is awesome. So I just want to say congratulations about your half marathon, Connie. And that's Connie pictured with her husband, Gavin, right there. She's actually also worked for Pete for over 20 years. So she has a lot of information about the vacation rental industry that's useful and helpful. And so she's been doing this for a really long time. So, and then I love these pictures because this one up on the top in the corner is her dogs. That's LD and Vea, and Gavin's giving them an ice cream cone, which I think is totally adorable. And then obviously me and Connie on the left, and then her mom and her down in the bottom corner. So welcome, Connie. I'm super excited to have you today. Thank you so much for making the time to come out, and we'll just go ahead and jump right in.
Okay, well, thank you, Brittany. I am very glad to be here this morning, and so I am going to just go ahead and start. The very first thing I want you to think about your website is I want you to ask yourself whether or not your website is responsive. I hope that by now everybody has heard of responsive website design. We also use an acronym RWD, and if you haven't heard of it, put very simply, what that is a responsive website serves the very same content, uses the same HTML code across all devices. And it means that you don't need to have a separate mobile-friendly website. So Brittany, can they take that poll right now?
Yeah, go ahead and take that poll right now. If you're on here, just click. If you know what your website is, that's awesome. If not, click the not sure, no problem. But Connie's going to address some stuff in the webinar so that you can get some specific information about your website and how to use your website most effectively.
Okay, so the responsive website, VRM has been doing responsive websites exclusively now for 2 years. We started doing it almost 2.5 years ago, and then for a time, a very short period of time, we were offering both a less expensive non-RWD website, and then we were also offering the responsive site. And after a while, we just realized that we really weren't doing any of our clients any favors by offering the less expensive version, because it would just mean that they have to redo it very shortly anyway. So having a responsive website I've heard a lot of people say that it will future-proof your website, and it'll be good for a long time. And so it eliminates the need for a separate mobile-friendly website. So if you're looking at your site on a mobile phone or the desktop or the tablet, whatever, you get the same content. It will stack and flow according to the device, but you still get the same content. And this is really important. Earlier this year in April, Google changed their algorithm for mobile searches to be biased towards the mobile-friendly sites. And then Google also went so far as to say that the RWD is the preferred method of providing mobile-friendly content. So they prefer for people to have one website that serves both the mobile community and the desktop community, as opposed to having two separate sites. And so when Google speaks, we all need to stand up and pay attention. So if they say it's important, then that means it definitely is important. So check out your website. If you need some help with that, go ahead and send us a help ticket or give us a call, and we'll see what we can do to answer any questions about that. So the second thing that that you need to do is on your website, you need to provide quality content, and you need to do it on a regular basis to keep your website fresh and updated. Quality content, you know, it's defined as being well written and substantial and shareable, and I want to emphasize substantial. In the bad old days of SEO, you know, people had the idea that having a website with a whole lot of pages would rank better. The larger the site, the better it ranks. So it was all about quantity over quality. But that was actually never true, because it's not websites that rank, it's actually pages that rank. All right. So when you're going through your website, go through there and try to get rid of all that thin content. A lot of people would take content that was related and suitable and could be very nicely presented on one page, and they would divide it up into multiple pages, resulting in thin content, and that just really looks spammy. It never really did help your website, but today it can actually hurt your website. So you want to go through, you want to get rid of the thin content, consolidate if that makes sense, or if it's just outdated, just get rid of it. Otherwise, you can consolidate it. And then you need to be adding new and fresh web content. Okay, so a couple of different ways that you can provide is through blogging and through our web groups. And you always want to use the best practices when you're providing content as well. Right? And pictures, grammar, typing, that's all very important. So the first way is blogging. And if you have a VRM website that is 4 years old or less, then you have blogging built right into the website. Whether or not you know about it, whether or not it's activated, you do have the blogging functionality. And that can be activated at any time. So blogging is an excellent way, but I do want to caution you that blogging, if you decide to take that on, you want to do it right. It's very important to do it right. You want to do it regularly. You want to do the research, see what composes a good blog. I'm not going to go into what makes a good blog today. That would be a whole nother webinar all on its own, I think. But good regular blogs, over time, they can help establish your company as an expert in all things that are vacation related in the area that you serve. So either weekly or bi-weekly, both are good options, whatever you have the resources to do. The second way that I want to talk about that you can add substantial content that's also shareable and quality is using the web group functionality in VRM. I am very surprised by how many clients I come across that don't know about the web groups, that don't understand the functionality of it, don't understand the full potential, and aren't taking full advantage of it. And it's just one of the very underutilized tools that we offer in VRM. And I'm going to show you a look at the web groups here in a little bit when we get to the show and tell part. But the web group functionality, if you're not really familiar with it, is simply a means of categorizing your properties in whatever way makes sense to your organization. All of you, if you're a VRM client using a VRM website, you have one web group at least already, and that's your all properties web group. And you have to have that because your search functionality, the quick search and the advanced search both, search that web group in order to come up with the results when somebody does a search on your website. So you have the all properties, but you also have the capability of creating a whole lot more web groups. In fact, there's no limit to the number of web groups that you can create. And there's no limit to the number of web groups that any particular property can exist in. You know, it makes sense that a property may be pet friendly and be oceanfront and have a private pool. So it fits in all of those categories. And those are just some examples of categories that you might want to create. And creating the categories gives you an opportunity because you can put some introductory text on that page, including some headlines and the title tags and things that I'm going to talk about. And optimizing your pages can all be done to these web group pages as well. So it allows you the opportunity to target some additional search terms that might not be suitable for your home page. Remember, I said that pages rank, not your website. So your home page ranks, and it ranks for a variety of terms, and it may even rank for dozens or hundreds of terms. But take a look at your Google Analytics sometime and look at the search queries. You need to have your Google Analytics hooked up to your Google Webmasters in order to see that. But if you look in there and look at the search queries, you're going to find thousands of search queries that people have used in order to find your website. I looked at a site just earlier this week, and in a 30-day period, there were over 7,000 search queries, and ranging anywhere from 2 to 3 words up to 9 words. I think I saw one that said oceanfront, pet-friendly property with 2 bedrooms and 1 bath in such and such a city. So people can get lengthy with those, and you can start to target some of those things using your web groups. So it's an excellent way, if you use it properly, to get some more content and have some additional ranking opportunities. So the next couple items that I'm going to talk about have to do with optimizing your pages, and I'm going to go through them fairly quickly because I feel like most people probably know about these things and know the importance of them. And I'm anxious to get to the part where I can actually show you how to implement these in VRM and on your website. So item number 3 has a A, B, and C part. Really, it's 3 items, but we combined it because in most cases they are implemented in the same place and you do them at the same time. So title tag would be A, and this is a feature or an element that I'm sure you're all familiar with. It is still arguably the most important item in on-page optimization on your website. You want to have a good title tag. You want to adhere to the best practices, which is what you see there on the slide, 55 to 60 characters. The reason for the character length is anything over 60 characters is likely to get truncated, which is the reason for the second item on the slide there, that you want the most important words at the beginning, right? So adhere to the best practices in the title tags. Use the keywords, don't stuff, and be very clever and think very carefully about how you want to craft that title tag. All right, and then we have the meta description. The meta description is often shown as the description there in the listing and search results. Now, technically, the meta description is not a ranking factor. However, it's still important because it does affect the click rate. You know, people will take a look at the description, see if that's what they're really looking for when they're deciding which one of those links they want to click on. So it can affect the click-through rate, and the click-through rate does, in fact, affect ranking. So while it may not be a direct factor, it can be an indirect factor, and it is important, so you want to take your time with it. Again, the best practices there that you see, 135 to 160 characters, that is so that it doesn't truncate. And so you want to just think of it as ad copy, something that will compel users to click on your ad versus somebody else's. The next item is the URL. All right? The URL, again, is not technically a ranking factor, just like the meta description, but it is a huge factor in the click-through rate. Research shows that it is probably the biggest factor in the click-through rate, next to the title tag. So you want a good URL, and different than the title tag, the most important part of the URL is the end of the URL rather than the beginning. If Google truncates your URL because it's longer than what will fit there in the search results, it's actually going to truncate it in the middle, and it's going to show the end part of that. So you want that to be readable by humans. Okay, you want to use hyphens and underscores as word separators. Avoid spaces at all costs. They end up in the address bar, showing up as I think the % sign and 20 and I think one other character. Anyway, it looks really messy. So you want to avoid spaces. And Google recognizes both hyphens and just the sheer underscores as word separators. So they will recognize what hyphen is hyphen SEO as three distinct words. Okay, so you don't want to just do one run-on word when you're doing your URLs. Right, and so you can choose your URLs when you're creating pages in VRM. So we're going to show you that as well. All right, and then the fourth item is the last item of on-page optimization that I want to talk about, and that's the heading tags, also called H tags. And there are 6 H tags available, H1 through H6. And I think that this is probably the #1 thing that I see people using incorrectly on their website, or even not using them at all on their pages, right? And headlines are important. Google does look for them. They are a ranking factor. A headline is exactly what a headline is in any other. You know, if you're in Word and you know you've got the headline, what is this? The headline 1 is the title of your page. It's the main topic of your page. And I think maybe the reason that it's not used correctly is because an H tag is actually HTML code, right? So what you're seeing there in that slide is you see the bracket with H1 and then the closing bracket there. That tells Google that everything that follows this up until the closing H1 is saying this is the main topic of my page. And then the HTML code down below there says this is a paragraph. And then the H2 says this is a subtopic. And then some more paragraph, and et cetera, et cetera. So Google is looking for those H tags when it is crawling the page. The robot's looking for those to tell it what the structure of the page is and what that page is about. So every page that you create should at least have an H1 tag in it. H2s through H6s, use them as appropriately. They're not needed, but if you do use them, you want to use them in order. You know, you don't want an H4 or if you didn't have a 2 and a 3. All right, a lot of web developers a while ago, and even some still don't understand the use of these, because all of these tags in HTML, and there are a lot of them, the paragraph tags and the headline tags, and there's a lot of other tags. They can all have styles applied to them, colors applied to them, so that every time you use an H2, it's the same color, the same font, the same size. And so web developers were using those as a method of styling as opposed to a method of structuring the page. So they have a specific purpose, and that is to provide structure. That is to tell Google what the topics are. So you want to learn to use them, and you want to learn to use them correctly. There is a really good article that I like. It's very understandable. It comes from a site in the UK, and we're going to show you the URL if you want to just copy down that URL. It's a good article about how to use your H1 through H6 elements properly. And to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever gone beyond using H4, and that very rarely. Mostly H1s and sometimes H2 if it's appropriate. So that is the on-page optimization, and so I want to get to showing you how you can implement these items on your VRM website and through the VRM admin console. So Brittany's going to give me some control, and I'm going to take you to one of my test sites, and I'm going to show my screen here. All right, I hope everyone can see that. Brittany, can you see that? If you can see it, I'm assuming.
It's still loading.
Not yet.
There we go. Now I see it.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so this is my test site. You can see my title tag up there. It says Connie's test site, and this is the developers have given me so that I can play with it and test out various things. So this is this happens to be our very latest in the CMS, and we have I'm signed in now, and so we have our toolbar across the top here, and there's actually, well, I'll tell you that later. Okay, so across the top here, if you have an existing page and you want to go in and you want to edit that page in any way, including the title tag and the meta description, you're going to find that under the edit. So anything that you choose under this edit is going to apply to the page that you're on. So you want to navigate to your page first, and then you're going to go under here, and if you want to edit the content on the page, you'll choose this, and if you want to edit your settings, your meta description and your title tag, you're going to choose the page settings. If you have an older VRM website with a content management system, there is still an edit settings function, and it's actually a little icon off to the side that looks like a piece of paper with a blue world on it. Okay, so look for that, and that's how you do. And it's set up a little bit differently, but you'll still see where you set the title tag and where you set the meta description. So these can be changed at any time on your site whenever you think that you need to update them. Test out a title tag for a little while. If it's not working for you, go ahead and come in and change it up and see what happens. If you're creating a page for the very first time, then you're going to go under content. And this is where you can get a list of all the content on your website. You can create a new page, a blog post, or manage your blog categories. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on new page right here. So when you are in a new page, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to give this a menu title. That's going to be the title that shows up under here under the menu. So as you begin to type, this is what your title is going to be, and then you can choose whether or not to publish this page, meaning make it visible. This is so that you can take several days to get your page working just the way that you want it, and not have to worry about the whole world seeing it because you're not finished. So you can choose to leave it unpublished. You're going to choose where on the menu you want it. This is the page hierarchy. So if I wanted it to go under About Us or under long-term rentals or under any one of these options, I can go ahead and choose that. Now this page file name, this is the URL. This is what is going to follow your domain name. So it's going to be www.mydomainname.com/ and then whatever is in this page file name here. Now you notice what this did is it took the navigation menu title right here and it filled it in down here for the page file name, adding hyphens wherever the spaces were. You can leave it like this, and most often I do. However, sometimes I'm going to want a really short menu title, and I might want to have a little bit more descriptive URL. So you can edit this. You can go in here and you can add additional text in here. Make sure that you add your hyphens though, and leave out all the spaces. And so this is how you can control your URL. And then you'll add your content right here. Now this over here is our content builder, and this is very new. I think we only have 1 or 2 websites out there right now with this particular content builder, which is really helpful when you're doing responsive design. And all of our new ones are going to come out with this one, and we'll be updating the older ones as well. That will take some time because we're testing some compatibility issues right now. But you can just drag these over here and put the content in there and then edit those texts and change the pictures out and that kind of stuff. And then this is again where your meta title is and your meta description down here, so that you can set all these up at one time. And then once your page is created, once again, anytime that you want to change any of the metadata, you just go back over here and go into page settings. Now once your URL is set, it's set. You notice I don't have the option to change that in here. If you change your URL after it's been established and after Google indexes it, then somebody else clicks on it and you're going to end up with a broken link. And you don't want a bunch of broken links on your website. So in the CMS, the last thing I want to talk about is how to implement those H tags. And I'm actually going to go over to the Virtual Resort Manager website because this has the older content management system with the other editor. And that's the only difference between this system and the one we were on, is that the editor looks a little bit differently. So if I go in here to edit page content, you notice that page did not have a headline. But what this page is about is the Virtual Resort Manager company profile. So making an H1 tag out of this is very simple. All I'm going to do is highlight that. And right here where you see this H, I'm going to go in and I'm going to tell that that's my main heading. That's the headline number 1. And so in our style sheet, a CSS style sheet, we've told it that every time we choose an H1, it's going to be a certain size, a certain font, certain color, etc. So all I had to do was highlight the whole thing, choose the H1, click Save, and then when I go back and I can look at my page, we now have a headline on the page. So it's that simple. The same thing applies for H2s. It is a very good idea, I want to mention this, when you are creating new pages, to get all of your text in the page before you start formatting. Write it in something like Notepad. You do not ever want to copy from Word or any other word processing system into this editor. Word has its own styles, and so when you copy and paste, it brings over those styles, and they're going to interfere with the style that you try to apply here. So if you type it in Word, that's great. I do it all the time because Word has a spell checker. And then I will copy that into Notepad, which will strip out all the styles, and then from Notepad into here. And then once all my text is in here, then I can go through and I can format. I can go through and I can say, okay, all of this text right here is a paragraph, that's down here. And what that does when you actually choose these styles, and paragraph and headings are mostly what I choose, and list styles as well. The benefit of using that is that all of your headlines and all of your text is going to remain consistent throughout all of your pages. So there are paragraph styles applied, there are headline styles applied, so each time you use that paragraph function, then all of your paragraphs are going to have the same font spacing, etc. Right. So the new editor, let me go to the home page. It looks a little bit differently, but it's very similar, but a lot of your headings are already built into it. If you use this over here and you drag this into your web page, this right here is already an H1 tag. You don't necessarily have H2 tags in there, so if you did want something to be an H2, again, you just highlight it, and your bar is up here at the top, and you can click on the H, and then you can choose your different heading. And I actually just noticed the other day that this actually only goes to heading 4, which is more than enough for anything I have ever done. So, and then you have your paragraph again, and there's also an additional style there. So that's all there is to it. It's highlighting your text and then defining it as a headline tag. That will go a whole long way about telling Google what your page is all about and giving structure to your page. So that's it in the content management system. So let's go over to the VRM admin console and show you what options you have over there. I've created a web group here. This is a winter special. I'm just going to click on that and show you what it looks like on the website. And then we'll take you over to VRM and show you how that was accomplished. So I created the web group, and then I added some copy to it along with a picture. Now, some of this is a little bit more difficult to do, and unless you know some HTML, some of it can be more difficult to do, like adding a picture. If you don't know HTML, you're probably not going to be adding a picture. However, I'm very, very excited to tell you that in development right now, I've been asking for this for a long time. I'm just so excited about it. We're going to have some changes to the web group functionality. So let me get there. You get to the web groups under your system configuration, and then to the websites, and then over to the web groups when this loads. Okay, web groups right here. So these are the web groups that I have created. And you can click New to create a new one, or you can highlight one and click Edit to edit one. And the only difference between the New and the Edit screen is the Edit screen already has stuff in there. A new screen would look exactly the same, but you'd be filling the stuff in. And so a couple of the changes that are coming up that I'm so excited about is we're going to have 2 new fields on this page besides the name and the web code, and this we're going to have 2 new fields, and that will be, one will be the title tag field, and one will be the meta description field. So you're going to be able to choose your own title tag and meta description. Right now, our web groups do have a title tag. If I hover over this web group right there, you can see the title tag is Special Deals, Vacation Rentals, Brian Head, Utah. So we still do have those things, but they are created dynamically rather than individually on the page. And I'm going to tell you how they're created right now so that we can make changes if you want to. The other change to this screen is we are going to change out this editor right here. Right now, there is no picture option in here. So again, unless you know HTML, you're not going to be able to add pictures. And there's also no heading function. There's no H tag up there. There's no formatting so that I can just choose it and highlight it the way I did in the CMS. So I'm going to show you how you're going to do that. But let's start with the title tag up here. So this is the name of my web group right here, Special Deals. That's what I call it. So what we're doing on the title tag is we are beginning the title tag with the name of the web group. We don't have to. We can put it in a different order if you want to. But what the title tag is composed of up here, the Special Deals, is the name of the web group followed by some optional text that I chose. So the Vacation Rentals, Brian Head, Utah, that's going to be part of every title tag for every web group. So my other web groups, they're going to be, I think I have a lakefront, so it would be lakefront with the pipe, and then Vacation Rentals, Brian Head, Utah. So the name and then the optional text. The meta description, is being pulled from the copy right here. So what it is doing is it's pulling in the first, I think it's 150 characters of whatever text you have in here. So this meta description, if I were to go look at the source code right now, the meta description on this is going to say winter vacation specials in Bryan Head, Utah. These vacation rentals are located, et cetera, until it cuts off. So it's important to add some information to this page in order to get your meta description, right? This web code becomes part of your URL. If we go back over to this page right here, you can see that the URL here is my domain, followed by vacations / categories / vacation rental special deals, all right? And that is my web code. So you want to adhere to the best practices when you're doing this web code. This is your URL, so don't use hyphens. Don't abbreviate. I could have done something like this, special deal. You don't want to do that. That's not what you want to do. So you want to make this meaningful. You do have a limitation in here of 30 characters. So you want to think about what you want to say. And I do want to caution you very, very strongly right here. Do not change the web code on any of your existing web groups if they are already established and have links from your website. If you have a specials web group already and you have a link to that web group and you will go in and you change the web code because you think you can improve on that URL, then you're going to break the link. All right? So do not change the web code. Now, if you want to think about changing the web codes, we can help you with that if they're really bad and you really want to change them. But you want to think about whether or not you actually need to, because even if it's a not so good URL, if it's been around for a very long time and Google has it indexed and Google recognizes it and you actually are getting traffic to it through organic searches, which means it's ranking for something, then you can check your Google Analytics and things like that. Then maybe you don't need to change it. But if you do want to change it, then you're going to want to get VRM's help. So we can help you with that. We can change it, and at the same time we can look at your website and find all the links that you have to that web group, and we can go ahead and change all those links. And then the last thing that we do, which is very important, because even if it's not ranking, it's probably still indexed in Google. So the last thing that we do for you is to permanently redirect the old URL to the new URL. That way, if someone happened to have that bookmarked or they did come across it in a Google search results, that if they click the link, then they would be redirected to the new page. So we can help you with that, but you don't want to change it on an existing web group. I'm going to cancel out of there so that I don't actually change that. Going back into edit again. So let's talk about the H1 tag. So in this editor right here, and this is true of all of our editors, there's usually a HTML mode that you can go into, and most times it's actually signified with an icon that usually have your greater than and less than symbols right here. So if you click on that, I'm going to go in here, and now I'm going to see what the actual H1 or the actual HTML code is in here. So we have the H1 tag right here. So what you need to know is you need to know that all of HTML, they have an opening tag and they have a closing tag. So just learn what this is, and you can Google this. It's so easy. There's so much information out there, you know, what it should be like. But it's just the H1 inside of the brackets, and at the end of your headline, do a closing bracket. The only difference between the opening and the closing is this / right here. And that closes it and says that this is the end of my headline. All right, so now let's start the paragraph. So you can go in there and you can define something just by, you know, putting your cursor there and going ahead and typing what you need to type there. Right, so you can do H1 tags, and you can put your text in there and optimize these pages for those search terms that that we were talking about earlier. So get creative with your web groups, but again, let me do another cautionary note here. Don't create more than you can maintain, and don't create web groups that are going to be very thin in content. You don't want to end up with 30 web groups that only have one property each. That's not really going to be very useful for your users. So you want to do things that people are searching for. Examples might include private pools, game rooms, high-speed internet. Pet friendly is a huge one. You know, those kinds of things. Oceanfront if you're on the beach. I don't know, mountain views if you're in the mountains, if that's a big thing. Whatever, but things that are meaningful for people that they really do search for. And then you can give them those categories. The last thing I want to show you, and you really can't do anything here. Well, yes, you do have some options. I want to show you a property page because it is optimized. It has the title tag, the meta description, and it has an H1 tag. So we'll go ahead and we'll go on to this property page. And what we've got here is we've got the name of the property. Now in VRM you have both a public name and a private name, and so you can tell us which one you want to use. If you want the private name for your reservationists and to look through for your own purposes, but your public name, that's what's going to show up on your website. So a lot of people only use one, and they use that the same for all purposes, but you do have that option. And the name of the property, then this becomes the H1 tag. If I was to inspect this element in Chrome, I could go down here and I could see that this was enclosed in H1 with a class. So that's your H1 tag. Your title tag up here is the name of the property, and then again, it's a combination of variables, and there is a lot more variables that are available here than were available with the web group. You have this location is an option. The property type is an option. Any and all part of the address is an option if you want that in the title tag. So you can format whatever makes sense. And usually when I'm setting up a new website, I like this happens to be the name of the property, and then it's pulling the location in from the details down there. And then I inserted the word vacation rental, and then Brian Head is coming from the VRM data again, just the city. And so I'll read the title tag, and sometimes that doesn't make sense. You know, it reads kind of funny, so I take out vacation rental, or I'll put property type in instead, or maybe I'll just leave it out altogether. But you have options, and if you can think of a way that you would prefer your title tag to be, go ahead and let us know about that, and we can format that for you. All right, so the last thing is the meta description, and this is done dynamically as well, and it's done with using a combination of variables and hard-coded text. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to view the page source here so that we can look at what the meta description is. This is, you can see right here, this is the description. And this reads, Bland's Landing is a waterfront vacation rental with 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, and sleeps 12. Book online with an exclamation point. All right. So it's pulling in the name, the location, some words. It's pulling in the number of bedrooms, pulling in the number of baths, pulling in how many it sleeps, and then we've added the book online. So again, I will go through, and this is the default actually right here. But I will go through when I'm doing a brand new website for somebody, and I will read through several different properties, not just one, but several of them, to make sure that the format actually makes sense. You do need to, I mean, it's a good idea to know about this and to read it yourself to see if this is the way you want. I actually was talking to a client the other day that in their community they were not allowed to say how many people had slept, so we had to actually take that out of there. So we can do that, and we can do a lot of different combinations. And in fact, almost anything in your property details, if you're looking in VRM in your property module, in your property details, almost anything from your general screen and your miscellaneous screen can be used in formatting that meta description. So your property page is fully optimized. The URL has the web group that it's in, and it has the name is the last thing in the URL, which, remember, I said the last thing was the most important, so that's where that comes in. And one thing I also want to mention here is when you've got multiple web groups and you have properties in multiple web groups and you have multiple URLs, so this might, if this was in the all properties web group, then this would say all instead right there, and it would still resolve to the exact same property. So to eliminate the duplicate content issue that you don't want to have for the search engines, we have written a canonical tag for this that is dynamically generated for every single property. And so this actually with the all web group, because we do know that every single property that's on your website has to exist in the all properties web group. So that is going to be your canonical URL. So even if Google sees the vacation rental special deals URL, they're going to recognize this as not being duplicate content, and they're going to index and show the all properties. So we've taken care of the duplicate content issue with that. So that is pretty much it for the implementation of those on-page items in VRM Admin Console and on the CMS. So there was one last item, item number 5. We told you there was going to be 5 things, even though I feel like I've been talking about a lot more than 5 things. The last item that you need to do is you need to actively promote your website. All right, all of the on-page optimization that we've been talking about, it is very important. It is still very important. Google has to know your page has to be indexable. Google has to know what the page is about. Google has to see some substantial content on the page. You've got to have good file structure. You've got to have decent pictures. You've got to do all of this stuff. It's very important. But what that does is makes you eligible to rank. You know, 6-7 years ago, if you did all this on-page optimization, that was probably enough to get you on the front page, at least, of Google. And if you were really good and very consistent at it, you know, you could get in the top 5 or the top 3 of the search results. But everybody is doing SEO these days, everybody, and there's a lot of competition for that front page, and we've got competition with HomeAway and Flipkey and TripAdvisor and all these big portals that have a lot of money to spend, you know. And so while the SEO is very important, in and of itself, it's not enough. You have to actively promote your website. You have to do it through blogging. You have to do it through pay-per-click. You have to do it through social media channels, email marketing, all of these different ways to promote and market your website. You have to be engaged in that if you really want to get ranked. And you know, if you look at your analytics and you look at how many searches you have in analytics that are actually searching for your name, like if I was looking at my analytics and I had a whole bunch of people searching for some variation of VRM Realty, maybe they're searching for VRM Realty ski properties or VRMRealty.com or VRM Realty spelled really wrong, 1 word, 2 words, etc. Those brand name searches are really good for you. They tell Google that people know who you are and they want to see your stuff. So the more brand searches that you can get, the higher you're going to rank in organic searches when people search on those generic terms. You know, vacation rentals in Bryan Head, Utah. If a lot of people are searching for VRM Realty in Bryan Head, and they're clicking on that ad, then when somebody searches for just Bryan Head vacations, then Google's going to relate those two things. So you want to do brand marketing. You want to get your website out there. And SEO alone, again, I can't emphasize it. I can't emphasize it enough that SEO alone is no longer enough to get you in the top results with the amount of competition that's out there. So get involved. If VRM can help you out, we have a lot of services, that we offer, and we'd love to help you out there and get involved with your website. Brittany's our social media manager, and she just does a fabulous job at that. So let us know. And that's all I have, Brittany.
Thank you so much, Connie, and thanks for the shout out there. So at this point, I just want to take a couple of minutes and go ahead and go over any questions. So if you guys have any additional questions, we got a couple in, but if you have some more, go ahead and stick those in either the chat window or go ahead and stick them, in the questions section. And okay, the first question that we got is, how long will it be before the new CMS is updated to the sites? And also, will the photos be able to be switched out to our own? So can you switch to your own photos?
Okay, so first of all, I'll address the first one, the CMS issue. I'm going to assume that they're talking about the editor, because that's the only difference, at least in the RWD version of our website. The only difference between the two is actually the editor. And we have to be very careful about that, because and everybody has to be done individually, one at a time, because we do have some compatibility issues. So if you don't have the new one, send us a help ticket and let us know that you're really interested in that and that you want it now, because we are beginning to prioritize. Our new ones do have that. We've just, like I said, we've just released it and we've just finished the testing of it. And so we're just now going to start updating. And a lot of our updates, like when we added the blogging categories, that was a really quick and simple thing. But this one isn't as simple. It has to be manually one at a time, as opposed to blanket like we can do some of our other updates. And so the other question was, can we change out the pictures on the properties? Was that what it said, Brittany? Remind me again.
It said, and also, will the photos be able to be switched to our own?
Switch to your own. Oh, in the CMS, yes, absolutely, absolutely. The photos there are placeholders. The text is placeholder. It's the lorem ipsum text, the dummy text, and all they are is placeholders, and they are there meant to show you, and there's links there to help you upload your own. Yep.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So I also got another question that I thought was really awesome. Is there a suggested length for H1 tags?
No, there's not. You don't want to. It's a headline, and you don't want to make it a whole paragraph, or a whole sentence. But there's really no suggested length. Whatever it takes to get the idea across without going overboard. So no, there is no suggested length that I am aware of myself. That's a really, really good question, though.
All right, and the last question that I have is it okay to have more than one H2 tags?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I do that a lot myself. One example is a things to do page, for instance. I might have a headline that says this is the things to do in this particular area, right? And so that's going to be the main headline. And then you're going to have subheads, skiing, snowboarding, or water skiing or jet skiing. You know, those are all equal level in their heading. So you can have multiple H2s. And in a case like that, for that example, you could even go into the H3s, because under, let's say you had a category that said charter boats, okay? And so then, and that would be an H2. And under charter boats, then you might have multiple H3s that would be the name of charter companies that you recommend. So you could do the H3s from there. And that's the example. And I've never gone to an H4. I can't even think of an example where I would use an H4. But those are areas where you would have multiple H2s and even H3s.
Awesome. Well, that's so great. Thank you so much, Connie, for being here with us today. I really appreciate you pouring out all of your knowledge for us to soak up this morning. This will be recorded and it will be on the website tomorrow. So you just go to virtualresortmanager.com and check out the blog. I'll have the replay up tomorrow at 10 a.m. for everybody. You can watch it. Also, if you registered for the webinar, you're going to automatically get an email from GoToMeeting tomorrow telling you that they are sending you the recording from the webinar, and I will have a link. Amber was so sweet to ask if we were going to have the slides available, and I mean, they're not the fanciest slides, but yes, I will definitely have them available for you on the blog tomorrow. So just go ahead and click over to the blog tomorrow and you can download the slides there and check them out. Okay. The last thing that I want to announce is that next month, I want to make sure everybody knows that you are able to actually know about our webinar next month. I'm really excited about, we are going to be going over best practices for avoiding chargebacks. And that's with special guests Tim and Sharon, and they are of the Lynbrook group, which is formerly Pay Pros. But I am so excited to have them with us next month. They're going to just talk about some ways that you can protect yourself from, giving the perfect vacation to somebody and then them doing something crazy and getting a chargeback, and then that leaves you out that amount of money. So if you want to register for that, all you have to do is go to virtualresortmanager.com and you can either type in /T with Brittany Lee.asp, or you can just simply go to virtualresortmanager.com and go to About Us tab and click Tea with Brittany Lee from there. So thank you, everybody, for coming today. I was so glad that so many people showed up, and I hope that everybody has an awesome day. Thanks so much, Connie. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.